So as Bitcoin ripped past $73,000 this morning, a signal flash that we have not seen in 4 years. And there's a lot of data suggesting that this is just the beginning of a much larger Bitcoin bull run. We can see that ETFs have bought over $500 million worth of Bitcoin today alone. And that would represent somewhere around 15 days worth of supply. But it's not just the Bitcoin data that's looking really interesting. What have stocks done over the past 48 hours while Bitcoin has added $300 billion of market cap? We can see the NASDAQ is down 3%. It's down nearly $2 trillion. Gold is up $3 trillion, and Bitcoin is up somewhere around $300 billion of market cap. This is really interesting. But again, like I said, many people are saying that this is just the beginning of a much larger move. Listen to the numbers and the price targets that even CNBC was talking about this morning.
Later in the future, I mean, could it go high? But in all seriousness, what do you see as likely to be the next move? How high? When?
Well, so far the move is all short covering. There's been $3 billion of short liquidations in the last 24 hours. It's an all-time record. So, feels like if we get the real money stepping in, maybe we go higher. Nothing is in a straight line. I told you guys 100K would be next year. Still believe that. And then, long-term 2029, say we can hit 500K if the cycle plays out as usual.
500K by 2029. That's super interesting. But what else did that Van Eck just mention there on CNBC? They mentioned shorts are covering. And again, what's interesting, we saw another move up this morning as Bitcoin moved up to 73,000, and more shorts and traders continue to get wrecked. Today alone, we've seen $400 million of Bitcoin shorts liquidated, and that was after the $1.5 billion wipeout yesterday. We can see 171,000 traders have been sent to the wood chipper in the past 24 hours. Collectively, that's nearly $3 billion of shorts. And well, that's $300 billion of traders. And out of that $300 billion, $2.66 billion were shorts. So shorts are getting absolutely destroyed right now. The higher the Bitcoin goes, the more degen traders step in to try to short this rally, and they're not zooming out and they're not looking at the bigger picture. I have a lot of videos to show you today that suggest that the bigger picture has never been more bullish on Bitcoin. And we can see this on chain. This isn't just speculation or a couple of interesting videos coming from Donald Trump or Goldilocks with Brian Armstrong. The data is suggesting, bigger picture, something's fundamentally changed. I want to first take you through all of the Bitcoin data that's super interesting. We can see the number of Bitcoins that has been held for more than 5 years is growing exponentially. We can see this is now 30% of all of the Bitcoin has not moved for 5 years. So think about what Bitcoin's done over the past 5 years. Bitcoin rallied from 3K to 65K, back down to 20K, back up to 69K, back down to 16K, then back up more recently to 126, down to 60, and the coins are still not moving. Again, 30% of Bitcoin's supply. We can see something else that makes me really bullish at this most recent move in Bitcoin is the fact that look at how many coins changed hands between the 62 and 65K region. You can see this is the most significant volume cluster on this chart. This is absolutely telling. Again, a lot of people are still very confident that we're going to be going lower, but I'm seeing a lot of signs that suggest that maybe Bitcoin has bottoms. And I'm going to show you that it seems to be repeating what happened 4 years ago in 2022. Before we get there, let's have a look at the spot buying, because again, this isn't just a short squeeze, and it doesn't look like this is just a low volume dead cat bounce. It's being driven by shorts being covered and liquidated. We can see spot buying has increased. Again, this scissor metric is a little bit more difficult to track, so I'm going to show you a few different data sources, but I can see lots of people are talking about the fact that this rally that has taken us from $63,000 to $73,000 in 48 hours. It is being driven by spot buyers. And this leads us to the natural question. Who are these spot buyers who are aggressively piling into Bitcoin right now? It's August. Bitcoin's historically not supposed to be rallying until Q4. But what's different about this time? Again, I think one of the catalysts that might be able to help us explain why Bitcoin's seen this rally over the past 48 hours is this clip from Donald Trump.
Do you have any plans to accumulate sizable amounts of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies?
Well, it's been talked about. I think I'd probably rely on Paul and the whole group for that. He'll make a decision. You guys will make a decision, and you'll let me know. But certainly it's been talked about. It's taken a lot of pressure off the dollar. It's been very, very good for the dollar. And I think if you came in with recommendations, two of you, if you came in with some recommendations, I would certainly listen. It seems to be a pretty big subject. Yes.
So that was obviously the clip yesterday that drew a lot of attention. Donald Trump and Scott Bessent, they're talking about printing more money. They're talking about effectively introducing yield curve control into the government bond market. Again, this is diabolical, what they're talking about and what they're being forced to do. We can see, I saw this earlier, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent doubles US long bond buybacks in the face of surging yields. And again, I'll remind you, this isn't just an American story. This is a global story. We can see Treasury has increased its buyback sizes a day after the 30-year bond yield hit 19-year highs. Think about that for a moment. Again, we talked about this in a live stream yesterday. The bond market is $300 trillion in size. Bitcoin is $1 trillion. Gold is $35 trillion. And right now, when a lot of people said the debasement trade was over, it looks like it's back on, and it looks like it's going to only be accelerating. Again, just think about how big that size of capital is. $300 trillion in the global debt markets. And it's all right now melting down. 19-year lows in America, 25-year lows in Japan. Europe's at 20-year lows as well. The global bond markets are melting down, and we're coming to the realization that there's only really one place to go. It's Bitcoin or it's gold, and you've got to make a decision. Now, again, we're going to talk about the global data in a little bit more detail in a moment. I did say Bitcoin's done something it hasn't done in 4 years. So what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing some really interesting data. Firstly, we are seeing that the number of holders capitulating their Bitcoin, this is an all-time record. We've actually never seen the amount of capitulation that we saw more recently. Now, what I think is really interesting, again, I'll remind you, this is not a trading channel. I encourage you never trade your Bitcoin, but we can see that Bitcoin right now is above its 200-day moving average. And what's it done previously when it's got its head above its 200-day moving average? We can see consistently a year after we hit that, or we get above that 1 year moving average, Bitcoin is multiples higher. In January 2023, you can see we're 115% higher a year later. In October 2023, we're 135% higher 1 year later. In October 2024, when we come back to that 200-day moving average, a year later, we were 71% higher. The data is very clear. And Bitcoin, if we go back to a chart that I was playing around with earlier, with the NASDAQ on it, we have, if I stick some moving averages on this and we get rid of the NASDAQ, I'm going to show you something really interesting. We are now starting to show signs that we are reclaiming a lot of these moving averages. Again, none of this is trading advice, but you can see buying Bitcoin on these red lines when we pull back to the blue line, which is the 200-day moving average. This is a great time to be averaging into Bitcoin. Again, past performance, not indicative of future performance, but it's just another one of these signals that, again, suggests now is not the time to be a seller of Bitcoin. Now is the time to be a buyer of Bitcoin. And at the very least, now is the time to start paying serious attention. Again, this is more data to back up what I was saying a moment ago. This is global debt markets melting down. Green is actually bad in this case because we're looking at the yields. We got the US 10-year and 30-year. Australia's 1, 5, and 10-year. What a disaster it is over there in that country. We've got Spain's 2-year, Germany's 10-year, France's 10-year. All around the world, they're going higher. They're melting higher. And yields going up indicates that nobody's buying the bonds. That's why the yields are going up. They're being forced to try to make themselves look more attractive. But you know what we always say? You cannot slap lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. And a government bond is still a shit coin that yields you 2% when inflation's 10. I mean, we all know inflation's 10%. Just look at the price of everything since 2020. Rent, houses, healthcare, everything's up at least 10%. Again, that's the pig. The government bond paying you 2% yield, you can't make that thing attractive. It is as simple as that. And again, something else that's, let's call it what it is. A reliable bottom indicator. Whenever the quote-unquote experts are very confident about the fact that Bitcoin's going lower, this is always, historically, it's been one of the best indicators. Let me play you this clip.
Lost the plot. And when I started buying Bitcoin and I've sold all of it.
I bought the dip and how I can't keep buying the dip. I have no money left to buy the dip. The dip, great. What do I buy the dip? Well, what am I going to pay for the dip? If I keep buying the dip, it keeps dipping. You got no money to buy the dip. You're out of dip.
This is the most bearish thing. I have zero desire. So last night I sold my Bitcoin. I sold my Bitcoin yesterday. I was holding a good amount of coins. I'm completely out of Bitcoin. 100% out of Bitcoin.
I sold all my Bitcoin and I suffered absolutely massive financial losses.
Well, it's unwinding all of crypto. We're seeing Bitcoin collapse below $60,000 again. The fact that Michael Saylor is allowed to walk around free right now is absolutely criminal. Somebody needs to arrest him. If I see this guy, I'm going to perform a citizen's arrest and lock this guy up. Because this is absolutely fucking criminal, Michael.
Apologies about the profanities there, but I think you guys get the drift. What's interesting about all of these clowns, they're all big names. Mark Cuban's a multi-billionaire. Dave Portnoy. How much is Barstool Sports worth? Hundreds of millions? Billions? But all of these clips came out in the last few months, and they were all very confident. Bitcoin's lost the plot. Bitcoin's going to zero. It's all over. But you know what we always say on this channel? Never listen to the quote-unquote experts because they have no idea what they're talking about. None of these guys understand Bitcoin. And again, I saw a really interesting tweet that should be a very cautionary tale. There's this Twitter account, and he's been posting screenshots over the past 48 hours of his Bitcoin short. He's down $3.2 million. This is a real account, mind you. This is a real trader. And he, as you can see, he refuses to give up. I'm doubling down on my short. We're going to $49,000 next. I will stick to my thesis. Again, this is a very cautionary tale. This guy keeps adding. We can see loaded up $1 million into a fresh account. Going to try to run it back to 10 million as I leave my other Bitcoin short open as we eventually go back to $49,000 per Bitcoin in the next 60 days. Again, what are these people basing their Bitcoin trading theses on? What, a calendar? A 4-year cycle? How can you actually ignore the president of America telling you, yeah, we're entertaining the idea of buying sizable amounts of Bitcoin? How can we actually not pay attention to the fundamentals of what is happening right now in the Bitcoin space? This is absolutely insane. Again, I'll remind you, keep a notebook of everybody who was shilling Celsius or BlockFi or FTX last cycle. You should not be trusting them this cycle. Again, there's a lot of YouTube accounts telling you to buy the next shitcoin or the next rug pull. Just remember, the large majority of them were promoting all the rug pulls from last cycle. So you should not be listening to these people with clout online because they have no idea what they're talking about. Again, I was listening to this space earlier of this poor guy. Again, poor dude. Again, kudos for open booking your trades. But it sounded as if he was getting liquidated on his $6 million Bitcoin short. And the guy just keeps doubling down. It's really sad to see. But again, this is a reminder. You should never, ever be trading your Bitcoin. It is as simple as that. As this comment from the chat says, you should never trust anyone. That's true. I'm not saying you should trust Trump. That's a mouthful. But when the president of the biggest country in the world with $30 trillion of GDP behind them is telling you, yeah, we're open to buying sizable amounts of Bitcoin, you don't fade that trade, okay? And again, this is not a trade. You should never, ever be trading your very, very, very precious Bitcoin. What are the first rules of this channel? You buy Bitcoin and you put it in self-custody, you shut up, you walk away, and you don't touch it for 3 years. Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is savings. We do not trade our savings. Again, what's the other first rule of Bitcoin? If you've got it on an exchange like Coinbase, we're going to be showing you a clip of Brian Armstrong in a moment. Or if you hold it in BlackRock's IBIT product. You don't own the Bitcoin until you hold it yourself. Again, if you are looking for a simple way to self-custody your Bitcoin, reach out to my friends at BitKey. They create the easiest to use Bitcoin hardware wallet. They've got multi-signature and inheritance planning built in by default. Go and take advantage of a 10% discount if you use a promo code Luke. That will get you 10% off the BitKey. There is a link down below for one of my proud sponsors here on the channel. But again, holding your Bitcoin right now, it is an absolute necessity. The big thing I want to click on here is we do not need the Clarity Act for Bitcoin to go up. Again, what's been the chatter in Bitcoin over the past 3 months, 6 months? People are saying, okay, Bitcoin's lost the plot, as Mark Cuban said in that clip I just played for you. Bitcoin needs a narrative. Where's the next narrative going to come from? What did we tell you? Just buy. Buy Bitcoin at 58K, at 60K, at 65K. Bitcoin doesn't need a narrative. Eventually, you just run out of sellers. And eventually, all of the bad news, when that can no longer push Bitcoin's price lower, what happens? Number goes up. It's as simple as that. And if sellers selling for the past 2 months and you still can't push Bitcoin lower, that is a massive signpost. But what is interesting is I saw this video come out today from a White House insider. I'm going to play it because again, I want you to notice how the tune seems to have changed with the Clarity Act. Maybe we don't even need the official Clarity Act, and maybe we get something that does the same thing, but with a different name.
Clarity continues to stall because of Democrat obstruction. The CFTC will utilize its existing authorities to begin establishing a regime for crypto asset markets. We owe it to the American people to do so. President Trump's promised to deliver a crypto asset market structure, and we will help him deliver on that promise. We will heed President Trump's call to codify a future-proof digital asset market structure that cannot be undone by the crypto haters. To achieve this, I've directed the CFTC staff to begin exploring rules to codify a CFTC market structure for crypto assets using the agency's existing authorities. This could enable current registrants as well as non-registrant crypto exchanges to be designated by the CFTC as a type of DCM known as a crypto asset market and offer crypto asset trading on a leveraged or margin basis subject to purpose-fit rules under the CFTC's regulatory oversight. I've also directed staff to engage with developers of on-chain finance protocols to establish ways in which developers can offer their protocols in a legal and compliant manner in the United States, future-proofing developer protections once and for all. We're going to give Clarity its breathing room for a vote, but if the Democrats cannot support a bipartisan work product which reflects compromises from both sides of the aisle and ultimately send a fair version of the bill to the president's desk, then rest assured, I will direct CFTC staff to move swiftly to propose these rules for the industry.
Kind of think that's super interesting, don't you think? He's kind of saying, look, if the House and if the Senate, if they don't pass Clarity Act, we're just going to pass something similar with a different name. We don't give a shit. And again, for everyone saying, oh, we need the Clarity Act. Bitcoin's dead without the Clarity Act. Look at the price. We're at $73,000 and ask yourself, what are the insiders doing? They're buying. They're not waiting for Clarity Act. They don't care. And we're going to see a lot of people being forced to change their mind and chase this rally as we do go higher. I'm not saying we go higher tomorrow. Bitcoin's just pumped by $11,000 in 48 hours. But if you're sitting on zero Bitcoin right now, because you think Bitcoin's going to $35,000 in October, I'm not too sure what to tell you guys, because I saw this chart and I thought it was super interesting. There's a narrative that says, oh, you get a long time to buy the Bitcoin bottom. A lot of the same bears telling you that, oh, Bitcoin's going to bottom in October at $35,000. A lot of those same guys, they talk about the same bullshit narratives where they say, oh, don't rush. You don't need to catch a falling knife. Bitcoin bottoms take a long time to develop. And I'm just not sure that's the case. When you see the first move out of a Bitcoin bear market, look at how quickly we tend to move. In 2018, we rallied from $3,600 to $9,000 in what looks to be about a month. That left everybody offside when that rally started at the end of March. Come the beginning of May, we're at 9,000. 2022, we saw something similar. Bitcoin ripped. Once it got above $17,500, it went to 24 pretty quickly. Now, again, these are just charts. These are just fractals. I don't know where the price of Bitcoin is going in the short or the medium term. I know where it's going with the long term, and that is up and to the right forever. But I think these charts are pretty tough to ignore. Everything right now kind of screaming bullish. Again, I always like to give you... I'm bullish. I'm a perma bull. Let me give you the bear case. What's interesting is maybe you can make a case for Bitcoin's corrections getting smaller and smaller. We saw a 91% correction in 2011. We saw an 85% correction in 2014. We saw an 83% correction 2018, 61% 2019, 2020. We saw a 76% correction in 2022. Right now, we've only seen a 53% correction. And while we're kind of zoomed out here, I want to show you a couple of more charts that kind of puts Bitcoin's cycle into a little bit more perspective. This is Bitcoin's historical bear markets. Again, this is something that gives me pause. And this is something that I force myself to look at and keep an open mind. Maybe we go lower. I'm not saying it's impossible. But this data would suggest Bitcoin's just had its shortest bear market in history. Again, let me give you the bull case. We also didn't really see a massive parabolic Bitcoin bull run, so it doesn't really make sense that we'd have to be beaten down for as long as we normally would be beaten down in any of these previous Bitcoin bear markets that we have lived through. And again, I'll remind you, the perfect of all perfect bottom signals flashed just last week. This also popped up on CNBC. Let me show you this clip. I've got about 12 clips I'm trying to swim through right now. Listen in to everybody's favorite Bitcoin bottom indicator. I shit you not. This came out on the 9th of August, 11 days ago.
Sailor murdered.
They
Bitcoin.
sold. It was a matter of a few million.
He murdered.
Doesn't matter.
Murdered. No, he just murdered.
The symbolism
Yeah,
of strategy being a seller.
He murdered.
So that's Jim Cramer not only saying that Saylor crushed Bitcoin, but he also went on to say that he sold all of his Bitcoin. What a grave historic mistake from our friend there on CNBC. That is Jim Cramer, once again, looking to be the sacrifice of this Bitcoin bear market. Again, what do I always tell you guys? You absolutely never want to be a seller of your precious Bitcoin, especially in a bear market. If, life comes at you, and if you got bills, and if you do want to get a little bit of cash in this bear market, I always recommend you check out what Ledn has built. They're one of the only Bitcoin borrowing companies that have proof of reserves, and they're the best place to borrow against your Bitcoin. If you use the link down below in the description, you can get a discount on your first loan with Ledn. Again, they've processed over $11 billion worth of loans, and they've got some of the lowest rates in the Bitcoin space. You can see you can play around with their little loan calculator here. Let's say you want to borrow $50,000 of fiat, of cash. You're going to be paying an interest rate of 11%. You can see you're going to have to put a Bitcoin up as collateral. And again, do you really think Bitcoin's not going to appreciate at 11% over the next 12 months? That's the bet you're making when you're deciding to borrow against your Bitcoin. And for me, considering Bitcoin's up, let's have a look. What is it? 11% on the day. You know what trade I am making here on the channel. Let's have a little bit of a look at the Bitcoin price. We showed you the fact that while the NASDAQ is melting down, Bitcoin is aggressively rallying. We can see we have literally gone, since Jim Cramer said that he sold all of his Bitcoin at $63,000 per coin, we've gone from 63 and we touched 73 this morning. Again, this is an absolute roller coaster. This, once again, feels like a true Bitcoin pump and a true short squeeze. Stumpy there is adding some good captions to what Jim Cramer just said. I sold it all because that guy said so, and he's the man. God, this is the level of intellectual thinking that goes through the minds of these experts. Again, who are the other experts that I showed you in that clip earlier? People like Mark Cuban. Even Chamath was getting a little bit bearish on Bitcoin more recently. They don't actually zoom out and have a fundamental understanding of what money is or what Bitcoin is. They look at Sailor selling, and it's enough to cause them to see some lettuce hands. I saw Daniel in the chat here talking about diamond hands. I hope all of you guys have diamond hands because, again, I don't know where Bitcoin is going, but I hope all of the data we've showed you today helps inform you a little bit more. Because again, the big picture here, the money printers have only really just started to be turned on. I tweeted this out. And I said in 2026, people are slowly starting to realize that governments from all around the world only have one option in the 2020s. And you can see by the meme, it's debt monetization. The 55 IQers and the 145 IQers get it. But all your intellectuals in the middle are saying, no, but actually, this is just Operation Twist. It's an exercise to reduce duration by selling bills and buying bonds. It's perfectly normal. It's neither yield curve control nor QE. That's what all your intellectuals are saying. But what most people don't understand is we are living through an 80-year long-term debt cycle. I quote tweeted this tweet thread that I wrote way back in 2021, and absolutely nothing has changed. You can see I talked about transitory inflation, and I said inflation is not transitory. We will see multiple spikes. Why is that? Because government debt is where it is today. We got more debt than we had in the 1940s as we went through World War II. And that was, by the way, the last time that we saw yield curve control. And that's exactly what Scott Bessent is going to have his hands forced into doing. Yield curve control. What happens every time a government has debt to GDP of 130% or higher? The paper money gets printed to pay back the debt. And eventually turns into toilet paper. Here's a list of every single country that has had their paper money fail. As you can see, it's a pretty extensive list. There is simply no going back. This is a one-way street to higher inflation, more money printing, more financial repression. And that is what Bitcoin right now is starting to sniff out. Or maybe we're on $74,000 Bitcoin watch on this live stream, because I'm not going to lie, Bitcoin looks kind of bullish. But again, let's zoom out. I'll give you the whole picture. Look at the move that gold had yesterday. I'm going to zoom out and put this on the daily. Gold saw trillions of dollars of flows yesterday. Look at that big green dildo. Look at that candle yesterday from gold. Gold, again, Peter Schiff said that the reason Bitcoin's not money is because it's too volatile. Oh, but look, somebody get Peter in here, because his boy gold just saw a 5% daily candle yesterday. Think about how significant that is. Gold is, as we continue to remind you, what is it, a $35 trillion market cap? It's absolutely massive. I'm going to pull up the largest assets in the world by market cap, because we got a little bit of an update regarding where Bitcoin sits on this list. So we can see gold is at 31 trillion. So if my maths is correct, it moves about 5% yesterday. About $1.5 trillion was added to gold's market cap in a day. What happens if that amount of capital wants to flow into Bitcoin? Again, Bitcoin's total market cap today, it's 1 trillion. Well, actually, let me get you the exact number. It's a little bit higher than that right now because of the pump. We're at 1.4 trillion. Gold saw that amount of inflows in 24 hours. And again, what's interesting about Bitcoin is we have a multiplier effect. So if hypothetically 1.5 trillion wants to flow into Bitcoin, you have to use a 6x multiplier effect. Again, most people don't know this, but for every $1 that wants to flow into Bitcoin, it pushes its market cap up by 6x today in 2026. So if you've got $1.5 trillion of demand times by 6, that would add 9 trillion to Bitcoin's market cap. Then we're looking at a Bitcoin price tag of like $600,000. Again, overnight. The numbers are plain as day. They're right there. I'm not predicting it, but it's a much higher probability than most people think, which is why we always say you would be an idiot to have to be trying to time this market. Sitting there with zero Bitcoin or even less than 30% of your net worth in Bitcoin would be a terrible idea. Again, I've made the videos on this channel addressing that controversial statement. I've showed you that it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or even 80s. If you've got less than 30 to 40% of your net worth in Bitcoin, by my opinion, not financial advice, nothing you hear on this channel is financial advice. By my opinion, you're aggressively short Bitcoin. Again, we've done the deep dives on this channel. But it's as simple as this. As John says in the chat, they have no other option but to print the money. Yeah, and this is the other thing about the Genius Act. They're going to try to force you to use their stable coins. They're going to eventually come out and criminalize Bitcoin in self-custody. Eventually. It's going to say nice things about it until I've got the digital ID and the CBDC ready for rollout. And that day, that is coming much quicker than most people think. Stumpy, this is a great comment. The debt has doubled in 8 years. Let me put the comments on the screen. Just don't go too wild for me, eh? We can see the debt has doubled. I shouldn't have encouraged you guys. The debt has doubled in the past 9 years. We've added $20 trillion of debt in 9 years. Accelerate. This is what most people don't understand. Like, the trend is your friend. If you look at the growth of treasuries or US debt, it's a parabolic exponential curve. They have no option but to print the money. Again, as we reminded you about yesterday, this is everybody is printing the money. Wall Street Journal said it very clearly yesterday when they said bonds are getting hammered and Wall Street says the rout won't end anytime soon. Again, US, French, Japanese, German bond yields all screaming higher because nobody wants to buy that toxic shit. Apologies for the profanity. You just should not be buying government bonds under any circumstance. Terrible idea. Terrible investment. It's only going to get you wrecked. Now, what else is going to get you wrecked is listening to people who are permanently bearish on Bitcoin. I've got 2 tweets to show you. One was from August 18th. I'll just read you the tweet. Last year, everybody was saying Bitcoin won't top in Q4, and then it happened. This year, everyone is expecting Bitcoin to bottom in Q4, so it won't happen. Ben Cohen went on to say, feel free to join the mental gymnastics club that meets on this platform, but my membership expired long ago. Boy, he's pretty confident on what's this? August 18th. 2 days later, boy, look at how his tone has changed. Oh, well, I will remind you that I stated on July 1st, the second half of midterm years is the accumulation period. Oh, yeah, righto. What a hot crock of shit. Again, I've never met Ben. Could be a really nice guy. But just, I show you these 2 tweets that are 48 hours apart to show you how quickly people will rewrite history. And they will go back and rewrite history. And you can go back and watch my live streams from 3, 4, 5 months ago when Bitcoin was crashing. What was I telling you? The exact same shit that I'm telling you today. Buy Bitcoin. It's irresponsible to own 0 Bitcoin. You should be using dips to aggressively increase your Bitcoin stack. I don't delete any streams. I don't delete any tweets. You can go back and look at all of my videos. They're all there. They're all on YouTube. I've said the same thing for 6 years. You buy Bitcoin, you put it in self-custody, you don't trade your Bitcoin. And financially, you're going to be pretty happy with that. Again, none of this is financial advice. Again, the most important thing about Bitcoin is actually taking ownership of it. I understand it can be a little bit scary, which is why I've been partnered with the Bitcoin Way for months and months and months now. If you need someone to hold your hand through the journey of taking self-custody of your Bitcoin or running a Bitcoin node, highly recommend you reach out to my friends at the Bitcoin Way. You can book a free 30-minute consultation where you can ask them any questions you want. Maybe they're not able to help you. I find that unlikely. But if you're doubtful, what do you lose by booking a free 30-minute call? You get to pick the brains of a Bitcoin expert. These guys have got 25 years of cybersecurity experience. Kind of a no-brainer for anybody who knows that they can probably have their Bitcoin set up in a little bit of a stronger storage solution. Again, what's another one of these steps that so many people just fail to take in the Bitcoin space that I've been telling you to take for 3 years here on this channel? Please don't write down your Bitcoin 12 or 24 words on something as flimsy as this paper. Paper will not survive a house fire. I don't know why people think it's okay to back up their hardware wallets with paper. Again, that's why I've been partnered with Stampseed for 3 years now, because they create a simple, easy to use product that solves a very common problem in the Bitcoin space. They've literally created DIY stamping kits that makes it easy and fast to put your Bitcoin 12 or 24 words into titanium. You can see you can get a basic kit for 140 big ones, typically cheaper than what you can get a hardware wallet for. And if you stack a promo code Luke21 on top of that, you're going to get a massive discount. So I highly recommend you take advantage of that. There is a link down below in the description for you to go and take advantage of that 21% discount that Stampseed is running. And again, what do I always tell you? Go and play around with your Bitcoin self-custody in the bear market. When the price of Bitcoin starts ripping, you know what happens? Companies run out of stock. All of a sudden, there's not as many hardware wallets going around as there were. All of a sudden, companies that offer you the service of getting on a one-on-one call, they're booked out because more people are interested. Go and take care of it now while you still can get ahead of retail, because I'm telling you, if Bitcoin makes another move higher today, we're going to be seeing a lot more retail. I can guarantee that. And you know what they say? Nobody knows where the price of Bitcoin is going, but right now it kind of smells like Max Payne is higher. Rob in the chat says that my cold card queue bricked itself a few days before. Oh my Lord. I hope you didn't lose too many coins, my friend Rob. That's very sad to hear. Again, I personally own a cold card. I like to play around with all of the wallets. If I'm ever going to make a recommendation or partner with a product, I will try to use as many of the products in that space as I can. Like, again, like I have Trezors, I have cold cards. I also sadly had some money on a cold card. I did move it off, thankfully, but I learned a lesson. I was freaking out. I was thinking, shit, I got a Bitcoin on that cold card. I luckily had a passphrase, and from memory I rolled the dice, but it was still a scary experience. Stumpy says he'll never use a cold card again, but I won't destroy it. I share that sentiment. I might end up framing my cold card. Because boy, that was a horrific event in the space. But again, what are the lessons that the $150 million stolen from one of Bitcoin's most popular hardware wallets taught us? Having all of your eggs in one basket is a serious concern. Even if you were told by all of the experts that this basket was cypherpunk and safe and air-gapped, this and that, right? I fell for it. Look, I got one. From first principles, you should never have all of your eggs and all of your trust in one basket. Diversify your setups. Again, never put all of your Bitcoin on a borrowing platform. Never put all of your Bitcoin in one self-custody setup. Have lots of different setups. Spread your eggs around. Learn how to use the tools. Oh, no. Oh, no. I tell you what, Bitcoin is definitely under attack right now. I will say that confidently. I showed you guys a timeline of events because Stumpy here laid it out. As tens of thousands of people were moving their Bitcoin out of the cold card, we see this coordinated marketing campaign trying to paint BlackRock as some good guy. Oh, send your Bitcoin to BlackRock. Look, they lowered their thresholds from $25 million to $1 million. They're opening up the BlackRock trapdoor for more and more people. And then, of course, Trezor sadly also had another massive data leak. Again, I've been really cognizant not to shit on any company over the years because, sadly, shit just happens, right? I think most of the companies in the Bitcoin space have had data leaks or issues, and I don't think they're doing it deliberately. It just happens. Sadly, shit happens. But again, what can you do? You can use a PO box. Privacy is very important. Privacy is very, very important. But again, why do I say Bitcoin is under attack? I walked you guys through the timeline yesterday on my stream. I'm going to be going in depth surrounding the suspicious event of 13 coincidences that we saw in 14 days to begin August. And you can see there's a lot of wallets here that just seemingly came under attack. You got Aqua and Bull Bitcoin. Bolts, strangely, was attacked. And then their entire executive team stepped down and got replaced by an unnamed anonymous group. Took over the company. Boy, that's odd. I've been in Bitcoin 9 years. I haven't seen that before. Real strange. Zeus wallet was attacked. Trezor wallet seemingly attacked. Wasabi wallet. All the wallets are getting attacked, which is what makes me think this move from Bitcoin is incredibly bullish. Again, we've been saying it for months here on the channel. When really bearish, bad news doesn't push price lower, it's a little bit of an indication that we've ran out of sellers. Every video we've made on Michael Saylor and strategy over the past 2 months, I said the same thing. Strategy hasn't bought in 2 months. They're actively selling Bitcoin and price isn't going down. This is bullish. All the videos are there. So Raw Honey Badger, love that name. I haven't used a Tangent, to be honest. That's one of the few wallets I haven't used. I've used many. Did we hit $73,000 on the stream? Let me... we're actually pretty close. We're pretty close. I encourage everyone to go and smash buy Bitcoin. Looks like we're about to rip through $73,000 as I speak. Again, do not try to trade this thing, guys. Buy Bitcoin, put it in self-custody, forget about it. Level up your security. Do it now while you still can. Again, like we said, single points of failures have taught us a very valuable lesson. Single sig wallets do not have all of your Bitcoin on one stash. There's a reason I've been partnered with BitVault for the better part of a year. They make multi-signature setups easy. They're running a special promotion right now. You can see they have a special offer where you can get 2 free Bitcoin hardware wallets. You can sign up for a 2-year security package, 300 big ones, and it comes with 2 hardware wallets. Again, this is an absolute no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. If you want to learn more about how you can create a time-locked Bitcoin wallet, time-delayed vaults, or multi-sig vaults very easily in a very user-friendly application, check out BitVault. You can get a discount on the link down below in the description. Now let's see whether we got $73,000 Bitcoin. Again, I want to make this really clear. Price of Bitcoin is irrelevant. But the price going up is it's the only signal that we are winning. Number goes up. We've been in a 18-year bear market. G'day, Ethan from Perth, WA. It's from my ex-homeland, Australia. Bonnie says we're at $72,816 per Bitcoin. Love to see it. I was talking about this today with my wife. Stumpy says the banks are desperate to get people into debt slavery. I was having a look at this. I heard a wild statistic. Something like 35% of Americans have more credit card debt than savings. Think about that for a moment. They have more credit card debt than savings or retirement savings. That's insane. The monetary system is officially broken. Bitcoin is your best solution to opt out. I think that's a good note to end things on. If you guys want to get even more bullish, I did a couple of deep dives on Bitcoin recently. I might put links to those videos up on screen somewhere around there. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. There's about 500 of you guys between Twitter and YouTube. I wish you a happy Thursday. I'll see you all in the next video.